Here with Dave and Faisal, we're talking, we're on News Talk 770 and More Than Money. We're going to talk about travel, something we both love to do for this last segment. Something we haven't covered for a while, but we've come across a wonderful guest and a website which caught our interest right off the bat. It's the website is IHateTaxis.ca.
.com.
Oh, it's .com. That's right.
IHateTaxis.com.
I know. Exactly. But, the owner of that particular site, Todd Romaine, is with us today. And, Todd, I want to thank you for joining us. And I want to get right into the first most obvious question. What happened in your life that you got a website called IHateTaxis.com?
Well, my brother and I have traveled to about 50 countries individually and collectively over the last, 10 or 15 years. And the biggest stress that we found over the years was dealing with taxis and touts throughout our journeys. We got scammed, placed in dangerous situations, and this sort of culminated over the years into sort of downright bitterness as soon as we exited customs to sort of the hungry wolves or sharks that awaited us. And so the bottom line is that there is no centralized medium out there in the world that provided updated traveler information on the various ground transportation options, prices, timetables, scams, etc., at sort of airports and train stations around the world. So, without this information, you're vulnerable to prey. And the bottom line here is that the vast majority of ground transportation information out there is incomplete, it's outdated, it's not available in English. Plus, you need to sift through numerous websites to piece it all together, and that takes a lot of time. You can obviously go spend $30. You can go to Chapters or whatever, or Amazon, and you can buy a Lonely Planet guidebook for that country, but more often than not, that guidebook becomes out of date as soon as you buy it. So essentially what we want to do is revolutionize this space so that travelers can be empowered and not scammed. And sort of the pivotal point for us was back in 2008. My brother and I have been to Thailand a few times, and we're there for a third visit. We got in around 3 a.m. in the morning, and we were quite familiar with the going rate to catch a taxi from the airport to the city. And at that point, the cabbies were asking for a ridiculous fare, and we tried to negotiate, but they weren't budging. And on our flight was other sort of Canadians, Americans that were, obviously very tired and weary from so much travel, and they were paying the going rate, and they were, going to town, and we were stuck at the airport there on principle trying to fight this. 30 minutes later, it wasn't going in the direction we wanted to, so we conceded to paying the price, and I got into the taxi and I said, "I hate taxis." Well, I added a few swear words in there as well. But that was sort of the rallying call. And then a couple of days later, we were in Phnom Penh, Cambodia there, at the Dairy Queen there, and we took out a napkin and sort of drew the idea of what this website would look like. And then in 2009, September, the website was launched.
Well, I tell you, if you haven't been scammed in a taxi, you haven't traveled enough. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you keep this current? Like you said, I think you made a perfect point here. So as a resource, that's wonderful. But, like you said, Lonely Planet's outdated right away. How do you keep all these travel destinations, the scams that are going on, the prices, how do you keep all that current?
It's difficult, and there's all different types of scams. A lot of them in taxi don't happen at the airport, and I have several stories that I've gone through where I've been in dangerous situations, in taxis, whether it be in Russia or China or what have you. And that stuff's not really popular in the website. The website really is sort of what do you do getting to or arriving at the airport with taxi cab drivers. How we update your information numerous ways. We contact ground transportation companies throughout the world on a regular basis to get what their rates are. We get people contacting us every time there's a scam or they lose a wallet or something. We seem to be the springboard for communication with these things. And, of course, media also contacts us. We were contacted by Forbes.com on the Las Vegas, scam situation down there with taxi cabs, or in Bogota, Colombia. So we've been kind of like a centralized repository for people for contacting us to advise us of things. And obviously my brother and I have traveled quite a bit. We still travel on a regular basis throughout, all parts of the world there. So we are familiar with a lot of the scams in these locations, and we dialogue with people, whether we be waiting in a queue at the airport or on a plane there. We talk to people and we get information that way. So it's a variety of different ways of collecting information, but at the end of the day, we use the internet and we use phone calls and emails with various providers around the world to get their latest e-schedules.
So Todd, let's take it from the beginning. You got a 50-plus traveler ready to go on their trip somewhere they may never have been on. They're ready to check off on their bucket list. They're going to Thailand or pick a country of choice that you'd like. Walk them through some of the basic advice that you would give them so they don't get scammed.
Well, okay, yeah. So obviously, in today's day and age, you can book your travel online or through a travel agent. So everyone has different preferences, but the sooner you do it, the cheaper the trip usually is, unless there's these last-minute deals. So you just be cognizant with timing has a huge role in airfare and so on. Also, you have to determine what your comfort level is with insurance. Some credit cards offer this as part of their benefits to the cardholder. Some even offer cancellation insurance. So there's a CIBC MasterCard Aventura card, which is great. They offer that as a perk. Otherwise, your travel agency or Expedia, if that's who you book online with, they'll try to upsell this to you. Make sure your travel insurance covers off medical. Otherwise, you could face a major bill. We've heard lots of stories about Canadians that end up in the United States. And they go to a hospital and they get this huge bill, tens of thousands of dollars. So make sure you have medical insurance. Find out if you need any shots in advance. So, in Calgary or Edmonton, they have travel clinics. Make sure you're aware of what you need beforehand. If you're going to, the Amazon, or if you're going to Africa, you're going to need anti-malarial tablets. Some countries require for you to have a yellow fever vaccination card and proof of it before you can enter their country, such as countries like Kenya. Obviously, these are basic things to make sure your passport's up to date, has enough available pages left for stamping, and also, do you need a visa? And a great website for that is the Government of Canada website, travel.gc.ca, and you can simply select the country you're going to, and it tells you what are sort of the travel entry requirements, whether you need a visa or not. Make a list of items that you need on your trip. I've always been bad at this. Don't go to London Drugs at 11:59 p.m. the night before and sort of stock up on things. Try to do that well in advance.
You've traveled with Faisal, I see, hey?
Sorry?
You've traveled with Faisal.
I always buy the travel size so I don't have to go through the customs and have to worry about my luggage. I can just carry it
And then he's using all my stuff because he doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Anyway, sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah, no problem. And do currency exchange in advance if you can. So most banks don't carry unusual currencies, but the U.S. dollar has become the common default option in most locations around the world, especially the lower denominations. Like a $100 U.S. bill won't work in most places, but the $20 U.S. dollar, is commonly accepted and can be used as a form of payment. So try to do that in advance. And why you do it in advance? Because then you don't have to do it either in an expensive airport location or trying to exchange money in downtown Mexico City, somewhere kind of in a sort of more unsafe, dodgy location. When you're leaving home from, if you're in Calgary in a taxi or limo, don't physically wave goodbye to your house or make some verbal comments that's going to be unoccupied for the next 2 weeks. Well, I don't think cabbies are bad people at all, but why would you give that personal information up for no reason at all? Just, keep that to yourself. Obviously, the other thing that's really important, when you're flying to a new location that you're not familiar with, do some background information on the airport when you're landing there. Go to our website there. We have all the information on ground transportation options, timetables, fares that you'll be paying. Print the stuff off if you need to. Throw it in your bag. Most airports in the world, you can pre-book your services, so someone will show up with a placard with your name on it, or you can look for hotels that offer free shuttles or just shuttles in general, so you can avoid the stress of figuring things out for yourself. Don't let touts at the airport grab your bags, and this is common. You go to a place like Guatemala or Mexico or what have you, and these guys will be very friendly and they'll start grabbing your bags, putting it on a trolley, and all of a sudden take that trolley outside for a waiting car. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, these are pirate taxis, and they're going to rip you off. So, don't let people grab your bag. Be very polite but firm, and take your bag and your destiny into your own hands. Pretend you know what you're doing at the airport. I know it's difficult sometimes, but don't stand with all your bags and constantly look around bewildered. Walk to a shop, turn around, engage what you need to do next. Just strategic. If you are taking a taxi, and most of the world take taxis, it's the most convenient conveyance from the airport. Be prepared in most countries to negotiate. And I know after a long flight, and this is my own personal experience, is the last thing you want to do at 3 a.m. in your sweaty clothes is to barter with some guy for 10 or 15 minutes. You just want to get to your hotel, have a shower, and go to sleep. But ultimately, if you don't barter, you'll get ripped off.
Yeah.
So again, use our website as a good reference point to what costs you'll pay approximately. This really applies to countries such as Mexico, the Caribbean, Africa, Asia, Eastern Europe, where prices are negotiable.
Todd, I got to tell you, we've got to wrap up this segment here. We're coming to the end, but IHateTaxis.com has all this information?
It does. Yeah, it does, to help you plan your trip out appropriately.
All right. Listen, thanks for joining us. We'll have you back on again. We've got to wrap this show up. Thanks for tuning in to More Than Money on News Talk 770.